What's up? Welcome to Backend Stuff. I'm Jacob Blitzo. So we've kind of been ignoring our user controller since we've started this project. Today, I want to refactor the plug action that we use to verify that we have our account permissions to update certain data. We currently have it in our account controller, but we also want to use it in other controllers like our user controller for updating our user. So let's go ahead and open up our Real Deal API project. Let's expand the lib directory and Real Deal API web controllers, and let's open up account controller. So if you remember, we're going to scroll up. We created this plug, is authorized account. So we currently check our account ID we want to update with our session account ID to make sure they match. Because if they don't, that account doesn't have permissions to change anything. How can we use this to check our user ID? Let's grab this function and move it to a new file. Command X to cut it. And let's make a new file in our auth directory. New file, and we're going to call this authorized underscore plug.ex, and then we'll do our def module, and that will be auth.authorized plug, and then we can go ahead and paste this, and we will need to make an alias for our error response, so let's do that right away. Alias, and then we need to do real deal API web dot auth dot error response, and we can't have this private anymore, so let's remove that P on def. Is authorized account doesn't make sense because we're not just using this for account now, so let's just remove the underscore account. So now it's going to be is authorized. Now we can do multiple functions and use pattern matching to differentiate between maps being passed in. So right now we are pattern matching account out of the construct, right? So why don't we just cut this first line like that, and let's replace the construct up here with that same pattern matching. So this gives us access to our construct still, but if it matches account, we still get our parameters, and we can check the parameters against our current session. There is one thing I want to do here. I don't want to make another call here. There's really no reason to hit our database again. So let's delete that. And what we're going to do instead is just verify that the account ID in our params struct is equal to our current session account ID. So let's just delete account.id. And now we can do params, opening square brace, and then opening quotations, and then just ID, which is the key. And now it's going to do the same thing. So if our current session account ID equals the parameters being passed in account ID, we get the construct back, and it passes it through the pipeline or the plug. And if it doesn't match, we get our forbidden error response, which is perfect, right? Let's head back over to our account controller. And now we just have to refactor a little bit so we can use our plug from a different location. So let's go ahead and just do an import, and then real deal API web dot auth dot authorized plug. Okay. And then we have to also delete that underscore account because now it's just is authorized. And now that we're importing our module authorized plug, we can just use the plug is authorized like this. And we're still checking it on the update function call and our delete. Now we can do the same thing in our user controller. So let's go ahead and open up our user controller. And at the top here, we can import our plug the same way. So real deal API web dot auth dot authorized plug, and then we can just call our plug. So plug is underscore authorized when action in, and here we're going to have update and delete. So on update and delete, we're going to pass through the same plug. Now we won't be sending an account object in our request though, so we need to have a pattern that it will match. So let's bounce back over to our authorized plug module. And why don't we just copy this right here is authorized. And underneath, we're going to paste it. And instead of looking for an account struct, we're going to be looking for a user struct or a user map. And then one thing we can do is instead of matching the account ID, we can do account.user.id, and then the params ID will be the user ID. And then it works the same way as before. Now we do have one little problem here. We're not preloading the user data in our set_account.ex file. So if we go into our auth directory and pull up our set account, which sets our account object to our assigns map off of our session variable that we store, which is our account ID. But what we can do, instead of using get account here, we're going to use get_full account. And then it'll work the same way, but now our user data is going to be attached to our assigns map. So it'll just be a little more helpful for us. All right, cool. So save that. And if we jump back over to our account controller or our user controller, let's clean some things up. So in our create user, we're not using this function, but it's giving us this warning because we don't need to use this response header. It's actually not in our current project because we set it up just as a full JSON response. Let's delete that. And then it'll stop throwing that warning at us. But if we come down to our update function, right now it's taking an ID parameter and then the user parameter. And the way we set it up in account is we just are nesting the ID inside the user parameters. So let's delete that. And since we just set the assigns account object to preload user data, let's not make an extra call to the database because only the current user is going to be allowed to update his own user object. So instead of calling and getting a user object from the database, we're going to take it out of the assigns. So we can just do con.assigns.account.user. And this is now the object we're updating. And then whatever new parameters we're passing in will be updated to the current session user. We're almost done here. And then we can test all of our changes. But let's head to our router.ex and add a new endpoint. We have to add an update user endpoint. So if we open up our router.ex, we're going to go underneath the accounts, and this is going to be a put. And I know when we updated the account object, the account here we used a post. And usually when you update objects, you would use a put or a patch. When it's account information, like our username, which is an email or password, it's still pretty standard practice to use a post. So that's why we used a post when we updated the account. And then any other accounts we're going to be updating will be a put most likely. So if we just do /users/update, close those quotations, comma, and then call our user controller, comma, and then update. And let's save that. And let's make sure, yep, our alias automatically got put in. We can remove that. And then we can save this. And now that endpoint is ready to get tested. So if we open up our terminal and we cd into the project, my project is in Documents, Develop, BS, and then Real Deal API. All right. And let's just double check that our database is running, and mine is not. So let's go ahead and start that. And now we can go ahead and start up our server with mix phx.server. And we're running now on localhost 4000. And if we pull up hopscotch, we can now test our user update endpoint. So first we're going to sign in. with client2 at realdealapi.com with our real_password. And we need this new token so we can access everything. And now if we go over to update user, we want to go into our headers, delete the old bearer token, and let's put in our new one so we have the proper authentication. And then in our body, we need to pass in a user object like this. And then we need our user ID. And our user ID is actually, I just have this saved from before, but if you don't know it, you could get account by ID, and our user is nested in there. So our user ID is this. And then we're going to just update because we don't have any information in our user data. So we're going to put in our biography, and that is a test of time, ... And then our full name is Blork Lightning Erlang. And then Blork's gender is alien. All right, so let's hit send. And it looks like we do not have access to this resource. Let's figure out what's going on. All right, let's go back to our user controller. And we have our is authorized. So let's go back to our authorization plug. And let's see, we're looking for our user ID is equal to the params ID. Okay. All right, let's make sure. Maybe we didn't, let's see, what, save that and client2. Let's sign in again. Oh, you know, I used the account ID on accident. So that's cool. We just saw that our plug actually worked because the user ID did not match because I grabbed the account ID on accident. So let's save this new JSON web token from logging in and put it in our header here. And that's bearer, and then copy and paste that. And now in our body, we need to actually use user ID, which is right here. Paste. And now if I hit send, we will get our user object back with our updates. And there we go. So that's our user object. Pretty cool. So that's working. And we saw that our plug still works even with our refactor. And now let's try to get our account ID just so we can see that our user object set up. So if we go to get account by ID, actually I need to steal our bearer token from our header first. So copy that. And now let's get account by ID and put in our new header. And this ID is the account we're currently on. So let's hit send. And then there we go. We get our email back, our account ID, and then our user object with the updated info. So that's pretty cool. We just kind of refactored our plugs with some pattern matching and multiple functions so we can use them for multiple controllers. And we also are using our assigns map to update the user account so we're not making an extra query to the database. So as always, if you need help or want to check out the solutions, check out that GitHub link in the description. And if you have more questions or just want to hang out and chat, join my Discord server, backend stuff. That link is in the description as well. If you want to learn how to build scalable, production-ready APIs, hit that subscribe button now. See you next time.